This came out of friendship, which, is the best. I think the best collaborations come out of people that you like to work with.
And in the beginning, it was just about, like especially given like the whole year that we've had, the pandemic, but also like beyond the pandemic, also thinking about like all the social justice things that have come up the whole year. And so Mark was thinking about doing something that helps other people see themselves mirrored or reflected.
Here in Los Angeles, we all got here somehow. We're here sharing the space, like let's have some joy. And after a year plus of, parties being on the computer, like this is nice to think of like a real world celebration.
Hi everybody, welcome to my studio. My name is Tanya Aguiñiga. I am the artist behind the installation Celebration Spectrum at Grand Park. Come over to my studio. So this is a lot of the different pieces that we're going to be using in the installation at Grand Park, and it encompasses a few different areas. So the majority of like the big canopy that has all the different party supplies centers around this big giant dragon. So it's actually 12 feet when you like stretch it out all the way.
Tanya is such an incredible human who brings her humanity into her artwork and also finds ways to connect the community through that. And with dublab, it's really all about being this place, a portal for expression of the community through sound, a platform for people to come together, and this is based in LA, but also really looking at the full world. So it's just a space, really a space for people to explore sound. That's our focus. So this is from Indonesia. You have West African bells, you have Japanese chimes, chimes Indian, Chinese. This is a pentatonic tuned wind chimes or temple bells.
We were talking about, how do you like work with such a public space, which is Grand Park, and all the different communities that are a part of Grand Park. So thinking about the unhoused population, thinking about, the people that come in and out of all of their workplaces around Grand Park. And so we were talking about how do you include the sound component into like how we've, visualize and create like the world around us, no? The whole exhibition, I think for me, really started with thinking about how you cue music in people's brains. And so we started with this idea of like hooks and songs in like party songs. And because my little sister has always been a really big Selena fan, I just constantly kept thinking like, when you hear like beady beady bam bam. And so then I kept thinking about, like just the joy that music brings, thinking about all of the celebrations that we missed and all of the missed connections with our loved ones and our friends. And so then we started kind of thinking about how could we make the whole space like a deconstructed party that kind of led you through different parts of the park so that you would get kind of brought into this like other world of just pure joy, where we think about all of the different cultures that make up LA and how beautiful it is that in LA we have so many different cultures.
We're going to be collecting we're collecting photos, both archival, like deeply archival photos, as well as current photos from the community that will be projected on the site as well. And we're digging into all these incredible archives and really kind of filtering out and bringing these parties that we're finding like a young Ethiopian man at a bar mitzvah lighting candles, and these kind of things where you're seeing like the crossing of Los Angeles cultures.
Some of the stuff isn't like normal decor, but this is like Armenian wedding dolls that are like given, I guess, as gifts during weddings. And so we were like, all right, like let's think of all the different like things that parties are around. Like it's not just like birthdays or whatever, but there's also other really specific things that are handmade, and that we figured, okay, we'll turn it into some type of decor to like showcase, because we do have such a large Armenian population. So a huge part of the project was also figuring out all of the communities that were really hardest hit, and all of the different small businesses that were really hard hit. And so, the budget was not that big to activate a really massive space. And so then I thought, okay, like what can we actually make with our hands in the studio, and like how does that compare to like ways that we can spend the funds that have more visual impact. So where, it would take us 80 hours to make something really small, like if we just instead spent a bunch of money buying things from all these party supply stores from all different cultures in LA, then we can put money into other people's pockets and use those as the ways that we start creating a site-specific installation. There's a lot of pieces that we found that were kind of general Asian decor and weren't like specifically one culture. But then there are other pieces that are like, this is specifically Korean. There's pieces that we got made. This is made by a Filipinx artist, and they're called pirol, and it's for Christmas. But she made them all by hand. So we have all of these like super specific pieces. So everything that I bought is like holds up. So it's like windproof and hopefully and like waterproof. Because at the end I also wanted to have like a borrowable party supply, like library, because I was like, well, also like a bunch of these are really beautiful, and a lot of communities and like community centers don't have the money to buy, a 12-foot dragon. And so then can we do this, but then also make it so that at the end it doesn't just like end up in someone's garage or like in the trash? Like, can we just have it so that, yeah, like different people can borrow stuff?
This is nice to think of like a real world celebration to bring people into and to spark ideas of celebrations of the past as well, sort of memorialize the way that people celebrate, not just, a year ago, but, decades before. So wrapping in a lot of kind of history and heritage, and the way that kind of the poetic idea of these kind of the non-lexical vocables, the idea of these kind of like sounds of songs, ay, 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 beady, beady, bum, bum, on and on and on, all these things like that can spark. Music has a way of sparking this nostalgic memories, and people can hop from, in this case, seeing something that evokes sound, but thinking of the song and then thinking of like a loved one that they, like had an incredible, time, even just a road trip or a birthday party. So all of these kind of interweaving of memories, of music and visual is really nice.
Yeah. Grand Park is a really amazing space for me to be able to even think about like a piece like Celebration Spectrum, because it's used by so many different types of people, and it's really in the heart of the city. It's in the heart of Los Angeles, and it really represents, for so many of us that have to come down to this part of LA, usually we're coming down to take care of like government business, or you're here to do a protest. It's really like the heart of the city, and all the activity kind of grows from here.
Grand Park obviously is a beautiful central sort of grand Central Park / Millennium Park style park. And a lot of people think of public art as a central hallmark of parks like Grand Park. But in some ways, I think the fact that we didn't have the central, iconic, singular, permanent artwork in the park, although there are some that are permanent installations, it's actually allowed us a certain kind of freedom to create public art that responds to the moment, responds to what's going on in Los Angeles, can be a reflection of the artists in our community, a reflection of community voices in LA.
Therefore, we were very lucky and honored to be given the opportunity to work with dublab, and with that in collaboration with Tanya Aguiñiga, and bring Celebration Spectrum to the park. At the core of Celebration Spectrum, it's about joy. It's about our community's resiliency and survival. In a year that we've been exposed and imposed to death due to COVID and also systemic racism, this is a year that we get to celebrate life. We get to reaffirm the truth that our communities get to live, and they get to live in dignity.
The outdoor part of it is really what drove all of the design, specifically because we're in a park. We're in a park that's used by a lot of different types of people. We're in a park that has a fountain, has a lot of really beautiful trees. And so from the beginning, I let the actual park play a really big part of how I was gonna kind of break up the spaces to be able to give people different levels of interaction and engagement with the piece.
So the collaboration with the Department of Mental Health and the We Rise initiative has allowed us to really dive into directly the subject of mental health, which is part of what we see as a critical part of people's well-being, and a place where we see the park as being instrumental in being able to positively impact Angelenos.
When we speak about mental health, we are speaking about social justice. And with that, it means that we're speaking about healing, about joy, but most importantly, about liberation. It was important for us to also support local business, and both the curator and the artist had the vision of bringing resources back into the community. We are a park. You can stroll, you can be under one of our trees, you can enjoy our public space and our fresh air. But we also want to advance the truth that public space is a space for all, and that we hope that folks who come to our park are also activating into reclaiming their own space.
So in this big kind of canopy, I wanted to show like the wide spectrum of the diversity that we have in LA, but also kind of create something that was a mashup of all of our different cultures and all of the parties that we've missed. So there's a lot of different cultures represented in here. There's some stuff that was just kind of general too. So like this lantern we got in Chinatown, but we wanted it to kind of represent, Asian culture. There's papel picado, which is Mexican. There's all of these really beautiful flower garlands that are Indian. There's this gold and a lot of the like super shiny stuff. A lot of it is Jewish. There's also some really awesome Cambodian and Thai wedding pieces that are kind of at the front. So a lot of the smaller pieces we wanted to give a little bit more like focus to, but then in looking for a lot of party decor from different cultures, we also kind of had to get a little bit creative because some of the party things we couldn't actually get at this time of year. So there's even things like there's Korean fans that have a symbol on it that's used in a lot of like architecture and different cultural celebrations.
Tanya Aguiñiga, Savancha, and Lottie, everybody came together to create this visual, incredible piece. And we wanted to really have the counterpart of that be sound. dublab really specializes in sound. So we have 24 different DJs who each created 30-minute mixes. It's a 12-hour tapestry of sound to accompany the visual element of the exhibition. And these are from Ethiopian wedding music to Filipino dance floor burners to cumbias, music of all sorts representing the cultures of Los Angeles, and even sometimes Cambodian bands covering Ethiopian music, and it all gets mixed up into a lovely collage.
So for this part of the exhibition, I wanted something that was going to be really big that you could potentially see from the street. So as cars are driving by, they could kind of get a hint that something special is happening in the park. And the shapes themselves are just meant to be kind of a little bit of an absurd thing that makes you laugh and, you know, maybe makes you think of things that are fun or playful. But yeah, so these are our little park friends that are of, yeah, just bringing people joy and making them smile with their little silly faces. And their names are Paco and Gabo.
One of my favorite places in Los Angeles, the performance lawn at Grand Park. And as part of Celebration Spectrum, we wanted to really honor this sort of gathering space where people can come together. It's very relaxing, so we felt that this is perfect for the after party of Celebration Spectrum. So in the trees, we have adorned the trees with bells. There's actually a very kind of mixture of cultures. You have African bells mixed with Indian bells. There's Chinese gongs along with Ethiopian rattles, Indonesian bamboo chimes that have a nice earthy tone to them. So we adorned all the trees with these bells to let the city play a part in Celebration Spectrum because it's playing a part in our lives anyway, so we want to bring the elements into it. We're pairing that with gorgeous ambient soundscapes from Leaving Records, who already spend time in parks because they have their Tierra de la Culebra park party, listen to music outside in the daylight under a tree. So we're kind of folding in these two different spaces of LA, kind of bringing different creative happenings of Los Angeles County into one space. So as you come down here, you can hear electronic, ambient, gorgeous soundscapes mixed with the sound of the city coming together, overlaying, and have an experience that's going to be different every time because the wind doesn't blow the same every day. Here we are.
Here we are, still sweating.
Still sweating. I mean, to go from like paper to actual physical space is kind of like, it's different, right? Because
Yeah.
you're in the elements, you've got the sun, you've got the wind, you've got the water, you've got the noise, you've got people.
We learned a lot.
Yeah.
From, like, I think the idea and like having it on paper and on the computer to like the reality of installing something that was gonna be affected by heat.
Yeah.
And learning, you know, that Mylar, even though it sounded like a really easy idea, is maybe not the easiest. And it was pretty awesome over the last few days to see different people's reaction to, you know, what is this? And then whenever people would read, I think that we did a good job at, you know, like playing with what is sound and what are the different emotions that come out of sound, and even like what are the visuals of sound.
We try to pick songs that were, you know, not super obscure, things that would spark nostalgia. It'd be like a wedding dance floor song or a birthday or something that like is meaningful but also vibrant and celebratory. But I think of like a parent coming with a child, the kind of conversation of like, well, here's this song, or like, let's, you know, listen, we have a playlist. I mean, you can scan and listen to the playlist. So it's sort of like these different iterations. And I think that celebrations are so multi-generational, especially like at a wedding when you have one of the few times where like so many generations are together in one space on one dance floor. So hopefully these kind of conversations, you know, started by seeing a word or even the kind of fun of confusion, a moment of confusion, but then you start piecing it together is really exciting.
Honestly, I hope that people just feel a little happy And I hope that that it helps bring a smile to people's faces. And that's about it. I think everything else you kind of, need to experience it for yourself and feel what you may. But mostly I just want to inspire joy.
We really hope that this is a unique opportunity for people to start to come out into the world and come back to Grand Park, come back to start to relive the memories they've made here, and also explore something new with this artwork that we think can really connect to everyone, because it's been a long, hard 18 months without celebrations and gatherings, and this is a beautiful reminder of all that we've missed and all that we have ahead of us.
And one more thing for us to add is that this year has been a year of COVID that has further pronounced inequity amongst our communities. So we know that we have to have a conversation of mental health, but also one of public space. We invite people to come to the park, to stroll, to sit under our jacarandas, to enjoy our cherry blossoms. But more than strolling through the park, we really want to activate agency in our community to reclaim public space. We believe and we advance the truth that public space is for all.